Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Diamond, and if you clicked on this video, you are obviously interested in what I have to say. So I'm gonna be starting a, I guess, series, kind of like story time, but instead I'm gonna call it the Gem Talk series. The name kind of stems from I'm a Gemini, and I also like to drop gems and be insightful. So yeah, that's what we're gonna call it. So I wanted to make this video because this has been a topic that I feel like God has been telling me to do, but I kind of just been like, I just haven't did it. But I think my purpose on this earth is to be able to share my testimonies, my struggles, and my lessons, to be able to help and guide other people, and sharing the journey of my faith. I think that sometimes we think we're so different from each other, but honestly we are more alike than different. And I think that if we begin to share our stories, we would be able to connect and understand each other better. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. And I have notes here on the side, so I'm probably gonna be just reading from my notes and looking at the camera. I just feel like I like to write things down because I feel like I sound more articulated that way. I feel like my thoughts just get across better when they're previously written down versus just going off the top of my head, because I just forget things, and I think it's really important to not forget everything I want to say. So I really hope that I can share my story in a way that you guys can understand. So yeah, so to begin, to get a sense of how I grew up, I didn't grow up in a super strict religious household. We went to church every Sunday, and it wasn't like forced upon, but we went to church and I knew about Jesus Christ. I also went to Catholic middle school, but not necessarily because that was my denomination, but because that was a good school in my neighborhood. And I guess at the time my mom just thought that not necessarily a bad thing to learn about religious beliefs. So I got baptized in adolescent stages. I think, I really can't remember the age, but it had to have been like between 10, 11, and 12, one of those ages. During that time I really didn't fully understand the entire concept or valued what it meant to get baptized, because I was so young at the time. Even when going to church, I really didn't understand faith, spirituality, and what Jesus symbolized. I didn't understand the songs. I didn't understand why people cried in church. I didn't understand why what a testimony meant, or why people shouted hallelujah. I didn't understand then as I do now as an adult. So growing older into my teenage years, my relationship with the Lord was kind of just surface level. It was kind of the same, just going to church every Sunday. I really didn't dig deep. Not until 2017, this was when I was in college. I think I was a junior at the time in college. I felt that is when my real relationship with the Lord started. In 2017, I felt like that was kind of my lowest point. At the time, I didn't mentally have control over my thoughts. I didn't know my purpose on this earth. And I just felt very isolated and alone. And with me, I'm the type of person, like, I just don't even share my feelings. And I keep everything bottled up, only because I feel that most people won't understand me, and necessarily that's not really a good way to do that. I don't think you should do that. I think it's important to talk to people, but I think now I'm still trying to kind of grow through that. So during that time is when I felt I started to turn to prayer, and I asked the Lord to change my mindset and attitude about life. I didn't want to keep existing in life. I wanted to truly start living in my purpose. So I felt that I was spiritually led to this book called The Power of a Praying Woman, The Power of a Praying Woman by Stormie Omartian. I hope I'm not saying that wrong. I'll probably put a picture up of the book. I found it on my mom's bookshelf. When I was reading the book, I felt that the book was mind reading me. It just talked about everything I was going through, and now that I look back on it, that was God leading me back to him, or to him, to start picking back up my relationship with him. So after completing the book, I felt a shift. I felt that my eyes were kind of opened about the power of the word, the power of what God could do for me. Between the years of 2017 and 2018, I felt that my relationship with the Lord started spiritually growing. Somewhere in between this time, me and my mom and my sister started going to this church called Bridgeway in Columbia, Maryland, and I really like this church. I like the way that this church held its services. It had a live band, it had plays, and the way the pastor delivered the messages, it was in a way that I understood them. So, not to mention that this church was multicultural. That was the first I've ever kind of been exposed to, because I feel like in the past churches that I went to, it was mainly just black. And what I also liked about the church was that they identified as a non-denominational church, which was the first I heard of as well, and which had led me to identify as the same. So to give a definition of what a non-denominational Christian is, it's someone who doesn't belong to a particular denomination, I guess, saying like Lutheran, Methodism, Baptist, Pentecostalism, the Eastern Orthodox Church. I'm gonna butcher these names, so I'm just gonna stop there. So yeah, of those examples, or just someone who doesn't practice strict doctrines that religion or churches follow and make a priority. The non-denominational Christian is someone who develops a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I follow the teachings of the Holy Bible, and I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and I believe that he died on the cross for our sins and rose on the third day and is sitting at the right hand side of the Father. That's what we believe. So also between 2017 and 2018, I came across different pastors on YouTube. Some of them were Tory Roberts, Mike Todd, Stephen Furtick, Heather Lindsay, and T.D. Jakes, and also Sarah Jakes Roberts. I highly recommend watching any of those pastors if you need an uplifting, to know more about Jesus Christ, to kind of grow your faith, or just to guide you on struggles about life that we go through. So out of all those pastors, I currently still watch, well, heavily, is Mike Todd and Tory Roberts. I just felt that they are pastors that relate everyday problems to the Bible. They really help me to understand the Bible better. They also have fun and joke, and it's not so serious all the time with them. I know that's kind of how, you know, I guess older churches are. They're so like strict, and they just do the same thing like every time, like in church or whatever. And I really wish that I could show my gratitude to them in person, because they honestly have been a big part of my spiritual journey, and just with life itself. And luckily, when I decided to move to LA in 2019, I had a chance to attend Tori Roberts Church, the Potter's House at One Church LA. Okay, so segueing into the year of 2019 is where I felt my biggest shift in my spirituality journey. I felt that I needed to dig deeper with my spirituality. So I started to read the Bible more. I started to watch sermons multiple times throughout the week. I was talking to the Lord more. I was increasing my prayer activity, and while I felt my relationship was growing, I also felt that my faith was tested for the first time. And when we talk about the word faith, it means trusting the Lord even when we just don't even know how we're going to get through something, or how a situation will work out. There were a lot of challenges I faced when I moved to LA, and I really had to ask the Lord for clarity. That when I asked the Lord for clarity, I felt that that's where I felt his presence really for the first time, and I felt that I knew he heard me, because he reminded me. So during that time when I asked for clarity, he reminded me of this sermon that I watched a year prior. It was Mike Todd's Stride series, and basically the series was just talking about timing and going ahead of God, making your own plans and going ahead of God and asking him to bless something before even asking him, is this your will for me? But also it's to asking him to bless something when you already have your mindset on it. And it's kind of like, did he tell you to do that? So after like making that connection, it was like a light bulb had went off in my head. I felt like before, when I watched that series, I really didn't fully understand it, because I understood it at that time, but I really fully didn't get it, because now, in a sense, a year later, I actually was going through that situation. And it was crazy to think that that sermon was kind of foreshadowing what kind of was the problems that I had with while in LA. So with that realization, it kind of gave me a lot of clarity. I definitely would recommend you guys going back and watching that series. That was a really good series for just if someone who just really doesn't know their next direction in life. I would really consider definitely going back to watch that. Also, in other instances, there were times with my finances, not knowing where money would come from, because when I was in LA, I was freelancing. So, you know, of course, like any person would, like, I would worry, because I was like, okay, I have bills to pay, like, and the Spirit would just come through every time and kind of reassure me and give me a solution to my problems. And it would be at the last second, and that's going back to the word of my faith being tested, because it's like I literally was just like, I really had to give it to God, because I really just didn't know, and it was like the last second, like God would come through. So in these type of instances that I was going through, that's where faith had came in. I had to trust the Lord. I could have gave up on the Lord and just be like, you know, God doesn't hear me, he doesn't see me. And I had challenges on and off throughout the whole 2019, and not to say that everything in my life was going bad. I had good opportunities that the Lord had brought into my life. Even though I had challenges, the Lord still didn't abandon me, if that makes sense. What I also learned throughout 2019 with my relationship with the Lord is that it's a two-way street. God still wants to see if you will come to him and rely on him through the good and bad. I think sometimes that we favor the blessings that the Lord gives us, and that's all sometimes that we expect from him. Or when things are going good for us, we tend to forget about the Lord. And we may think that we don't need him. Sometimes we get surprised when curveballs happen in our life, and we be like, Lord, like, what happened? Like what are you doing? Like, we come back to him and we start to pray to him again, and we start to pray to him to help us get us out of that situation. The relationship with the Lord has to be consistent with the entire package that comes with him. I feel like I'm still learning and growing as an individual and with my spirituality journey. And I wanted to make this video because I wanted to open up a conversation about spirituality and God, and what it is to be a Christian. And to completely be transparent, it took me so long to do this video because I always think of like rash, like the most dramatic, like, I guess, scenarios of like what people would think. But in the back of my mind, like, I was like, it would be that one person that's like, if they look at my IG, or if they've been following me on IG, and or if they look at my vlogs, and they'll be like, oh, how are you a holy person and you still like to party and drink and stuff like that. And it's so crazy because I had watched a V Simone vlog the other day, and she kind of was talking about the same stuff. She touched on like that aspect too of how people like judge you, and what she was saying, she was like, our relationship with the Lord is all different. What God told you to do is different than what God told me to do. And I feel like if you are, because sometimes I feel like with Christians, like, they'll be holier than art thou, and they're out here judging other people. But what I learned from, I forgot who said it, but it was Mike Todd. He basically said, when you forget, you begin to judge. We've all been in certain spaces where, you know, people might not think it's holy to do, but to be completely honest, we are all human. At the end of the day, no one is perfect except the Lord. So that's kind of where I want to leave it as that, if someone ever wants to judge me for making this video and comparing it to my lifestyle. But yeah, so I think I'm going to stop this vlog here. I have so much more I eventually want to create content on about spirituality and God, and it's definitely not going to stop here. So if you were enlightened by this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please also don't forget to comment and subscribe. Yeah, I will see you guys in my next one. Okay, so I just be forgetting things, but so I definitely will go more into depth about everything share my story about with my move to LA and stuff, so you guys can kind of see like how that really connected to, I guess, my testimony, and also included in my spirituality and growth. And I'll definitely go more in depth about that later on in another video. I hope that you guys kind of understood my story and also took some value from it. So definitely let me know if you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this from me. So yeah.